All right, folks, what is going on? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. However, you are consuming this podcast. I truly appreciate you guys very, very much. Big shout out real quick to our sponsors, Sunny Reds, 1841 Aber Road, just on the way from Highmark Stadium. Also, Imperial Pizza with two great locations, 1655 Main Street, not far from Canisius College. And, of course, in the heart of South Buffalo, 1035 Aber Road. Make sure you guys get out there and support both of these fine dining establishments. Very supportive of this show. So I'd love for you to be supportive of them, and for good reason, man. These are two of the best places anywhere, not just in Buffalo, but all of Western New York, to go hang out, get your drink on, get some good eats, hang out, good vibes. Imperial Pizza, Sunny Reds. Also want to give a quick shout out to shopforvinyl.com. This is a great spot. If you are looking, if you're on the lookout, the market for some old vintage records, this is definitely the place. I got a ton of stuff there myself. 70s, 80s, 90s. That's always been my vibe. Tell you what, too, if you watch this show, you can see in the background of my studio every day, I got two albums that hang there every single day. Michael Jackson Thriller, Lionel Richie's self-titled album. I got those from Shop for Vinyl. Many, many, many more. So make sure you go check them out. Shopforvinyl.com. All right, folks, this is our Tuesday podcast, and what an ugly performance and effort from the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. They go to Miami, 9.5-point favorites. They leave Hard Rock Stadium on the losing end of a 30-13 whooping. And I've had a chance now to sleep on the game. I've had a chance to pour through a lot of stats, ESPN Next Gen, some PFF stuff. And of course, I spent at least a few hours on Monday morning into the afternoon watching back the All-22. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm some kind of film expert. I'm not a film bro, even though Joe from Queens likes to put that label on me. You're not going to get an education when I talk film with you. I don't know that much. Anthony Prohaska and Eric Turner from Cover One, or Joe Marino, of course, from Locked On Bills, a few others. They're really going to educate you on the film. That's not what I watched the film for. I just look back and see what I watched during the game in real time. Was I wrong? Does it confirm some feelings that I thought? That's the primary reason why I watch. I want to see the best plays of the game, the worst plays of the game, why they worked, why they didn't. Pretty much that's why I spend as much time watching the film as I do. And I do feel like sometimes when you'll watch a film back, you'll see something that maybe you didn't see in real time. Quite often, more often than not, it confirms what you thought. But once in a while, you'll see something on film and you're like, you know what? When I thought this in real time, I was wrong. I remember going back to, I think it was the Saints game. Ryan Vandermark got a start at right tackle, and I remember bashing him on Twitter throughout the game and on the live reaction show with Joe. And when I went back and watched the film the next day, I'm like, yo, this dude was nearly not as bad as I thought he was. So sometimes that happens. And like I said, you just pick up and you see a lot. The tape never lies. The tape never lies. And I'll tell you this much. I don't want to use too much recency bias. It's easy to call it like the worst performance of the Sean McDermott era. It's not. They've played worse. It's hard to believe it, but they have. Not a lot. Not a lot. But even if you do remove recency bias, here's what I will say. I feel comfortable saying this about how the Bills played Sunday in Miami. This was one of the uglier, low-effort performances from the Buffalo Bills ever during the Sean McDermott era. I do feel comfortable about saying that. And that only gets confirmed when you hear a leader on the team, somebody like Deion Dawkins, who's in the locker room after the game, and he tells reporters, hey, they wanted it more than we did. They played harder than we did. And that really bothers me. That really bothers me. This season started to remind me of seasons past minus last year. That's kind of where I want to start today, folks. Like last year, the offense was, well, it was historically good. Statistically, it was literally historically good. And more importantly than that, when you look at this team last year, they didn't lose any games that they were supposed to win. Like you look at their losses last year, they lost at Baltimore on Monday Night Football. Baltimore's a great team. They lost the following week in Houston on Sunday. And Houston at the time anyway was a really good football team. Plus the Bills were pretty decimated with injuries in that game. I know Ed Oliver didn't play. I know Khalil Shakir didn't play in that game. So they lost to two teams that, you know, they weren't inferior to the Buffalo Bills. I don't have notes in front of me, so it's escaping me, and it's going to drive me nuts until I think of it at some point during the show. But they also lost another game during the season to a good football team. And then they lost the regular season finale against the Patriots, which, I mean, you can't even count that. But my point is the Bills beat the teams that they were supposed to beat. They didn't lay eggs. This year, they've done it twice already. The Bills were favored by 9.5 points in this football game, and they lost. The Bills were favored to beat an Atlanta Falcons team that 1 through 53, they're just straight up better than, and they lost. And those are just two games that they lost. They damn near lost to the New Orleans Saints at home in week 4. If Spencer Rattler makes a better throw to Brandon Cooks in the end zone, I'm not saying the Bills lose that game, but I am telling you that in the fourth quarter, the Bills find themselves down 22-21. Who knows what happens? The Bills played bad enough to lose that game against the Saints. And they didn't play good the first time they played Miami. They were like double-digit favorites in that game. And the Bills ended up winning 31-21. But that was a one-score game late. And it took a Terrell Bernard. Remember those days where Terrell Bernard made plays, folks? It took a Terrell Bernard interception of Tua late in the fourth quarter to seal that game. So you're getting bad performances by the Bills against inferior teams. You didn't see that last year. You did see that in years past. I remember losing at New England 29-25. I remember losing at home to Denver in primetime, which ultimately got Ken Dorsey fired. We're starting to see a lot of patterns that we saw a couple years ago. Last year, Josh Allen just absolutely refused to turn the ball over. This team never turned the ball over, and they took the ball away. This year, through 10 games now, 9 games? They're only +2 and +. And Josh Allen's only got one less turnover right now at this point of the season than he had all of last year, his MVP season. So this is kind of reminding me of 2022 and 2023 a lot more than last year. And I'm going to ask you here near the top, stay tuned to the end. I have what I consider anyway, maybe you won't agree, but I feel like I have a pretty, what I think is a strong take about the biggest shortcoming right now when it comes to this organization. So stick around to the end. Little bit of a teaser, I guess. Bottom line is this. The Buffalo Bills went 40 straight divisional games. 40! Without losing by more than 7 points before this Sunday. That was an NFL record, the longest in NFL history. That came to an end on Sunday in Miami. This is the first time that they've lost by more than a score. You'd have to go all the way back to 2018 against the New England Patriots. They lost that game 24-12, and that was Josh Allen's just like his 9th or 10th career start. So yeah, they're blowing games that they should win. That is going to hurt them in the standings, whether it's the number 1 seed or even the AFC East, which is in big jeopardy I feel like at this point after this game. 2 of the 3 Bills losses this year. They were at least an 8.5-point favorite. They were 8.5-point favorites against New England at home in week 4, and they lost. 9-point favorites in this game, and they lost. And they were also 4-point favorites at Atlanta in primetime, and they lost. Just the general vibes right now. Like doing this show, talking to you. Hopefully you watching or listening to this. Just think right now. It's Monday when I record this. It's going to be either very late Monday night or Tuesday when you watch or listen to this. Just think back 1 week ago at this time. What were the vibes like? Just 1 week ago. This was a team that, we talked about that rut, losing to Atlanta, losing at home to New England, barely beating the Saints, stumbling of sorts into the bye week. And then they come back and they go to Carolina and they absolutely beat the shit out of them, 40-9. Now, I know Andy Dalton was a starter, but still, 40-9. And then if you still don't believe in them, that, hey, it is Andy Dalton, nice road win, but against a shit team, well, what do? They come back home and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, a game where the Kansas City Chiefs were favored at Highmark Stadium. The Bills are almost never underdogs at Highmark Stadium. They were just 1 week ago. 1 week ago, and the Bills beat them. An impressive win. The Bills go right back to the very top when it comes to betting odds to win the Super Bowl. Riding high, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. You're a Bills fan, you're a Bills media member, you're a Bills content creator. You had every right to feel things are back. We've seen this before. The Bills hit a lull. They get a big win, this time against the Chiefs, and it just leads to a stretch of dominant Buffalo football, especially as the season gets later. That was a week ago. Right now, shit. Right now, you're concerned. I'm not going to say the number 1 seed's gone because that's absolutely not true. They're in trouble, though. I think I saw a stat that they're about 39% to win the division right now. They're a game and a half behind the New England Patriots. They got to go on the road to play New England. I think it's week 14. And New England will be coming off a bye. The Bills obviously have to win that football game. But even if they do, you're going to have to hope that New England stumbles. Because there's only a couple games where they're not going to be favored. And maybe one of those games is Buffalo. Like they go to Buffalo, or they have Buffalo at home, I should say, and then they go to Baltimore the following week. If they could win just one of those 2 games, I don't see how they don't win the division. Even if they lose both those games, they can win the rest. They still could win this division. And I'll go as far to say that right now, as I'm recording this, I consider this Tampa Bay game coming up at home on Sunday at least borderline must win. Like if the Bills don't win against Tampa at home on Sunday, for starters, I think you could certainly kiss the division goodbye. And if they lose that game, you are officially in a fight. I'm not going to say they'll miss the playoffs, but I'll say you can officially consider the Buffalo Bills, should they lose Sunday at Tampa, in a fight to even make the playoffs. So there's that. The vibes, a roller coaster, pretty much all this season are certainly heading downwards right now, and for good reason after this game. And before we get to a break, I want to talk about Josh Allen here before anybody else. Before talking about his play in this football game, I am starting to get, for the first time ever in his career, I am starting to get annoyed with the demeanor of Josh Allen. And let me explain that a little bit. We've seen throughout his entire career, when he's not playing well or the team's not playing well, he gets on the bench. You see shots of him that are cut away. He's by himself. He's got an iPad maybe on his lap, and it just looks mopey. Like defeated, dejected, demoralized, like his girl just broke up with him. You know, that kind of, we've all been there. You know how that vibe is. He looks that. It's visible. It's plain to see. And I've never liked that. Don't really bother me that much, but I'm not a fan of that. I just like to see a guy who's more involved and engaged and, getting his teammates fired up. And what we're about to go down the avenue right here is getting in some freaking teammate's face, trying to wake some people up. But he doesn't. He doesn't do that during the game. I'm not saying he don't play with fire. He plays with a world of fire. I'm not saying he doesn't want to win. He wants to win really, really badly. I'm not questioning the passion. I'm not questioning the fire in his belly. That's all there. And anyone who says that it's not because now he's married and there's more than life than football and all that other shit, you're an idiot. You are an absolute stupid idiot if you think that Josh Allen, the passion to win football games, is less now than what it was a year ago when he was winning MVP. Which, by the way, he was engaged a year ago as well, too. So that's idiot talk to suggest that. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about his demeanor, like especially when things aren't going well on the sideline. It's bothered me throughout his career, the mopiness. But that's not what I'm even talking about. That's not even what I'm talking about. What I am tired of more than anything else right now is Josh Allen taking bullet after bullet after bullet after bullet in these press conferences after the game. All the time for the failures. His failures, the team's failures. All the time. I've always admired it. I've always admired it. In fact, when you compare it to somebody like the quarterback who was on the other side of the field on Sunday, Tua, how many times just this season alone have the Miami Dolphins, and more specifically Tua, played like complete dog shit, and then you hear this man get in front of the podium and he'll talk about things like players calling out teammates for missing player meetings. He'll talk about being too short. He couldn't see where he had to throw it in a spot. Excuses, excuses, excuses. I'm not going to go as far to say finger pointing, but certainly excuse after excuse. And that's like, that gets annoying. Josh Allen never does that. He's the opposite. Josh Allen could go throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. I don't remember what his stats were, but I'll give you a perfect example. Last year against the Rams, Josh Allen went nuclear in that football game, and they lost. The Bills lost. You would think this guy threw for 130 yards and 4 freaking interceptions after the game because he took accountability and put it on himself for them not winning that game above all else. I've always admired about that. So much I've admired that about Josh Allen. But now, you know what? I don't like it anymore. I don't like it anymore. I just don't. I feel at this point of his career, maybe Josh Allen needs some of that Tom Brady or that Aaron Rodgers in him. And let me be clear, if you listen to me, you watch me, you follow me on Twitter, I do not like Aaron Rodgers. I think he is a piece of shit. But I am ready to concede that I need to see more Tom Brady and more Aaron Rodgers, more douchery when it comes to him. I want to see anyway, Josh Allen start to get a little more visibly angry with his teammates, quite frankly. Call him out. Call him out. Call him out. Call out a play. Call out a coach. Call out something. Say that things need to change. Don't just sit there and take bullets. It's admirable, but after a while, it's like, listen, can you play better? Yeah, yes, you can, especially even better than you played on Sunday. But don't be afraid to demand more. And maybe he does behind closed doors. But the demeanor of the Josh Allen that we've seen since he's been here, while he's very fiery, the passion burns like crazy, he wants to win football. He's just not the kind of guy who's going at teammates or coaches or especially offensive coordinators. And I just feel like that needs to change. Like, I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm ready to see the finger pointing era of Josh Allen right now more than I am compliant Josh Allen at this point. I think straight up, Joe Brady needs to be called out, and I'm getting really tired, and I know why. Sean McDermott, Josh Allen, they're going to say the right things, but call this dude out, man. Joe Brady should be called out. Brandon Beane should be called out. He needs to be called out. He won't, but he should be. His receivers certainly need to be called out. If it's going to create, I don't care if it creates animosity or whatever. If it's going to make these guys play better, even if it makes them play better in spite of Josh Allen, who gives a shit, man? I don't care. You shouldn't either. Better play calls, better players as a result. It's kind of worth being a douchebag. You know, him and Stephon Diggs, you could tell, love, hate kind of relationship, whatever. It worked. It worked. He got him the ball and he made plays. Who's doing that on the Buffalo Bills? Huh? So I know that sounds stupid on the surface, and I don't know if I explained it well enough, but I'm just tired of compliant Josh Allen sitting there and taking bullet after bullet and not calling people out that deserve to be called out. Now, all that said, his play, it wasn't good enough on Sunday. Just wasn't. And if it's not good enough, that makes you part of the problem. Josh Allen on Sunday in Hard Rock Stadium was part of the problem. I don't care if he threw for 300 yards. I don't give a shit. Those feel like empty numbers. I don't care what his numbers were. He had not one, but two inexcusable turnovers that are no one's fault but his own. That interception in the end zone, the Bills are down 16-0 at the time. It's 3rd and 5 from the 5-yard line. There's still 6:05 left in the third quarter. Plenty of time. You can't make that throw. You cannot throw that football to Dawson Knox. Throw it out of the end zone. There wasn't really anywhere to go. Tyrell Shavers was starting to get a little bit open. I think Josh said he wanted to throw it to him or was trying to or something. It certainly didn't look like it on film. But there just wasn't a lot there. It was not going to be a successful play. Throw it away, try to run, make a miracle happen. I don't know. But whatever. Even if you take a sack, at least it's a field goal. It's 16-3. You still got 21 plus minutes left in the football game, and you're on the board. So there's that. And then, of course, later on, that 3rd and 1 fumble. 4th and whatever, or 3rd and whatever, 3rd and 1, tush push. Exciting Josh, Superman Josh, don't want to go down Josh. Fun in the moment. Like, yeah. 15-yard gain. But then, bam, he fumbles the ball. He loses the ball. In Miami territory. And the Bills are down 16-6 at the time. 16-6 at the time. If he doesn't fumble and the Bills go on to score a touchdown or even a field goal on that drive, it's a one-score game with tons of time left. But Josh Allen fumbles. Miami converts that into a touchdown. It's 23-6, and the game is over. Were it not for those two turnovers, the Bills are likely down one score in the final, say, 7 minutes of the game. Hell, they might not have even been down at all. As bad as they played, the Bills might not have even been down at all late in that game if Josh Allen has a clean game and doesn't turn the ball over. So, again, for him to sit at the podium and take accountability for this game, yes, he deserved it too, you know? So, not good enough. Now, in fairness to him, we also got plenty of Magic Josh extending plays with his legs, which, of course, he had to because nobody was getting open with any kind of consistency. I'm not going to sit here and say no one got open ever. That's not true. But nobody consistently gets open on this football team. Some of the plays that worked, especially that 21-yarder to Curtis Samuel, where Josh Allen probably ran the length of a football field scrambling before finding him, or that one to Khalil Shakir after he was scrambling. That's just magic shit that, vintage Josh Allen. But like I said, at the end of the day, it doesn't erase the two back-breaking turnovers that he had. So whether it's deserved or not, and in this game, it is kind of deserved. Josh Allen's got to get, he's got to get some blame for this loss. Anyway, let's take a real quick break, come back, and we'll start to fly through some more things, including Joe Brady, Keon Coleman, and this defense. Oh, Joe Brady. This is like a weekly conversation with Joe Brady, man. Some of the things in this football game just blow your mind. Go back to the beginning or the second drive of this football game. It's 4th and 1. And Miami, who, by the way, Miami gets the ball to start the game. And there's a penalty before they snap the ball. Then they use a timeout before they run a play. So they've already had a penalty and burned a timeout before they've even run an offensive play. and then Tua throws an interception on third down. You're like, all right, these are the Miami Dolphins that we know and love. They're ready to get Miami'd in their own building, a building where there's probably as many, if not more, Bills fans than Miami fans. And then the Bills do nothing with the ball. It's 3rd and 2. They're in a shotgun, and they run a read option to James Cook out of the shotgun that gets stuffed for a yard, and then the Bills punt. But anyway, the Miami scores. All right, the Bills got the ball back to get to the Miami side of the field. It's 4th and 1. Tush push territory, of course. They go up for a tush push, and it was actually less than a yard. It was about a half a yard. And Miami calls another timeout. They didn't like their personnel. So they bring bigger, beefier dudes in, and instead of just saying, you know what, we have Josh Allen, we're going to run this fucking play, whether you know it's coming or not, you're not going to stop it. What did the Bills do? They run a fake tush push. A fake tush push where Josh Allen then rolls out, and the design is to James Cook. Only the problem is James Cook ain't open. And there's no other real options. You got 2 tight ends both running down the football field, Hawes and Knox. Too cute. Joey Brady strikes again. What a stupid, idiot play call that is. Why do offensive coordinators, and we're seeing it more and more with Joe Brady specifically, have to consistently outthink themselves? Why? Why? Run the tush push. And if you're not going to run the tush push for whatever reason, then run Ray Davis or James Cook right up the gut. I don't give a shit if they had 11 guys between the center and the guard. Have Josh take a step to the right or to the left, wherever it is, and pick up a freaking half yard. And you throw the football. God, it was just a dumb play, and it really set the tone, I feel like, offensively for this entire game. So you had that Joe Brady idiocy. Then you have Elijah Moore. We thought we could retire the end around. We thought wrong. And running on 2nd and 5 from their own 41. It gets stuffed for a yard loss. Just the straight up either inability or unwillingness with Joe Brady in this offense to get guys like Curtis Samuel and Elijah Moore being any kind of consistent factors in the passing game. The wide receivers, now look, when you look at this box score at the end of the game, because the Bills were forced into hurry up, throw it all the time mode, so it ended up looking fine. But at halftime, in what was still a reasonably close game for the Bills, their wide receivers, 3 targets, 3 catches for 30 yards combined in the first half. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. They had 3 catches for 13 yards, not 30. Gave him way too much credit. Bills wide receivers in the first half, 3 targets, 13 yards combined in the first half. Samuel and Moore, the guys I just mentioned, in this game, 3 catches for 30 yards. And that includes a 21-yarder on Josh Allen's magical scramble. It's just not good enough. There's too much reliance on this offense in Dalton Kincaid, who unfortunately is becoming the Josh Norris of the Buffalo Bills, an extremely talented player who just can't stay healthy. He left the game on a hamstring. Sean McDermott confirmed while speaking to reporters on Monday, it's a week-to-week thing, so you can say goodbye to Dalton Kincaid in an offense that already struggles to throw the football. You can say goodbye to their best pass catcher for multiple weeks right now. Just brutal. And then the Bills, the first downs. Josh Allen was good. By the way, Josh Allen, 12 of 15 for 158 yards and a touchdown when throwing on first downs. James Cook, 11 carries for 45 yards rushing on first down, and 14 of them came on 1 run. Miami did a great job of saying, we are going to take James Cook away on the early downs. We're going to make you throw. In fact, Miami was practically begging the Bills, and you can see this on film, how many times they played 5 defensive linemen. They had 8 guys in the box, a lot. Miami was practically begging the Bills to throw the ball more on early downs. And it was there. They had success. They just didn't do it enough. So, man, I've been frustrated with Joe Brady before. Just like all of you, I'm not as vocal quite about it. Like, I yell about the performance he's doing, but I'm not one of those, you got to fire Joe Brady type of guys. It just hasn't been me. But I'm going to tell you, I'm there. I'm just about there now. I really am. I think it would be a good idea to move on. They're not going to. Sean McDermott made that clear on Monday, too, by the way. He said he is committed to Joe Brady for the rest of the season. He also said, get the Brian Dable thoughts out of your head who got fired by the Giants on Monday, because he said at this point that's not even a consideration reaching out to him. I don't know. So even if you take him aside, I want to know. Aaron Cromer has had some OC experience in the past, or someone else would even be capable of stepping in to call plays, being OC this late in the season. I don't know, but it's just not working, man. It's not working. And I'll get back to a little more why at the end of the show. I will say, hey, Ken Dorsey was fired almost 2 years ago to this day. He was fired on November 13th, 2 years ago. So it wouldn't be unprecedented for Sean McDermott to make an OC change just late in the season. I'm ready to be done with this era of Joe Brady football. I really am. But I just don't think it's going to happen. Now, Keon Coleman, look, I'm sorry to come off as a hater here, and I understand that some people, what I'm saying right now is going to sound like nothing but a hater, but I'm just not going to give him credit, or at least a lot of credit, for that touchdown on Sunday. 35-yard touchdown, sure, fantastic. Also came on a four-string corner, Ethan Bonner, who I think played 3 snaps this entire game. Like, your depth is incredibly depleted if you got Ethan Bonner out there. Ethan Bonner to the Dolphins is what Dane Jackson is to the Buffalo Bills, maybe even worse. All right, so great. You cooked a guy who's should be a training camp body, all right? And it wasn't even like a great route or a great catch or great anything by Keon Coleman. To me, it was more about him losing the rep than Keon doing anything. So again, I apologize for being a hater on Keon's big moment, the biggest moment he's had in 8 weeks now, all right? And I'm not going to get into a long Keon Coleman game film diatribe on this episode, but here's my conclusion, okay? This is what I've concluded after watching this game. I tweeted this too on Monday. And this is not a small sample size anymore. This is 8 games. This is a half season, all right? You could debate whether Keon Coleman is open more or whether he's not open enough than what we're seeing. You could debate that. You can look at the film and say, well, if Josh would have hit him here, he was open. Or no, he's just not open. He's covered like a blanket. All right? You could debate that. You could debate if he's given 100% every route that he's running or he's not. And I'm going to tell you this, my opinion, brutal, honest opinion, he's not. There are some routes you could see when you watch the game back where either he's not running as fast as he can or as committed to a break as he can be, or he's just that bad at running routes. It's got to be one or the other. It's got to be one or the other, because there's a handful of reps every week, including this one, where it just doesn't look like he's even trying to make a break. There's a couple plays where he gets open, but it's so late in the play that it's not going to happen. Like the safety has already left, or the linebacker's already left the area that they're at to go to where the ball's going. He just ain't getting open. Or it's not even that. It just looks like he's not committed to running the route as hard as he possibly can. Or he's just not good enough. So anyway, you could debate all that. You could debate, again, whether he's getting open. You could debate how committed he is to running the routes that he is. Here's what's not debatable, folks. The math. Keon Coleman has 24 catches for 218 yards in his last 8 games combined. 24 for 218. And he's also playing 71% of the snaps. By far the most of any wide receiver on this team. So the production is shit. That's what it is. The math is the math, folks. 24 catches for 218 yards in 8 games, yet he's out there for 71% of the snaps. It's not working. It's not working, and it has to change. It just does. You cannot have this guy out there 71% of the snaps. And you know there's a discourse, by the way. Forget about Josh and Keon. I think there's a discourse between Sean McDermott and Keon. Somebody asked Sean McDermott about the effort with Keon at the presser on Monday, and I would just invite you to go and listen to it, because if I just quote it, it won't sound like a big deal, but you could just tell there was some Sean McDermott that, yeah, not enough effort on some of these reps. It's so obvious. You got to make a change. He can't be out there 71%. He cannot be a focal point of this offense. If he is, I think you're not gonna get any different results. So there's that. And like I said, to make matters worse on the offense, if it wasn't bad enough, Dalton Kincaid gets hurt. He had 20 and 17-yard catches, back-to-back plays. Then he dropped one in the rain. Ultimately, like I said, he pulled his hamstring. So that's just a big blow, big blow to this offense. One more real quick break, and we'll be back here, and we'll talk about the defense. And then, like I said, I got a general take about this team that I hope you're interested in. Want to switch to the other side of the ball. Not going to spend nearly as much time because it's just it's not really nuanced on the defense. Like, I feel like the offense is more layered. Like, I feel like the players are there. I feel like the potential is there on the offense to be every bit as good as they were last year. Hell, maybe even a little bit better. I feel like potentially that's there, especially since James Cook has become such a dynamic star running back. I just don't feel like that about the defense. It's a little more black and white to me when it comes to the defense. I don't think the defense is good enough. I just don't. And let's start with the one area I definitely want to talk about. It's the linebackers. The Buffalo Bills linebackers, which were supposed to be a strength, are a problem. They're a big problem. So, we've had so much focus on the offense this season, not just this game, but this season, that the linebacker play from their two starters, of course, I'm talking about Bernard and Milano, I think low-key has been as big as any problem on this entire football team. Like, take Jerome Bernard. His miserable season has just continued. He was awful in this game in Miami. And the film shows it kind of is like he alternates between being unaware of where the ball is at. And I understand he's got some gap responsibilities. In Miami, I won a bunch of counters. And sometimes, it might look on tape, he's getting beat somewhere, but he's supposed to be at a certain spot. I get all that. But you can tell he's just lost at times too. Unaware where the ball is. Or when he is, he's just straight up getting manhandled when he is aware. And it's not once in a while. Like, it's constant. And another constant thing is his missed tackling. He was charged with a team-high 3 missed tackles in this game on Sunday. And I'll tell you what, PFF grades, I get it, man. I do. Generally, you could trash them and you'll be right. But Terrell Bernard getting a 32.9 overall grade and a 26.5 tackling grade from PFF from this game seems mighty spot on to me. Both would be worse on this team were it not for a defensive tackle named Fidarian Mathis. That's how bad Terrell Bernard played in this game. And I'll tell you what, Matt Milano, not much better. Matt Milano has went from being an all-pro player, of course, injuries, father time, lots of things, lots of factors. But right now, Matt Milano is just the epitome of what a Jag is. Just another guy. Let me ask you this. When have you seen Matt Milano make a meaningful, great-looking play this season? He sure didn't in any of his 43 snaps in this game. And it's wild. It's wild because, man, you go back to training camp this summer, and I thought he was arguably the MVP of the Buffalo Bills at camp. He looked as good as anybody. I remember Bobby Babbage saying that even without bias, he thought Matt Milano was the best player of anybody on either side of the football at camp. And I agreed with it. He looked at it at camp. It just is not translated whatsoever into the season. It's also taught me, as much as I hate to ever give Joe from Queens any credit, going the Joe from Queens route of just simply not giving a shit and not putting any stock into anything you see in the training camp because it almost always never matters. Matt Milano, defensive MVP. You know who else was great in training camp? Looked like a beast? The old Trey White is back. Now, Trey White hasn't been awful, but whatever. He's been another Jag. Keon Coleman was unstoppable in training camp. He's been very stoppable when it matters. So those linebackers have been terrible this season. And it's wild. Shaq Thompson, 31 years old. Multiple major injuries over the past few years, including now. Well, not major, but he's been out with a calf. He's the best linebacker on the 2025 Buffalo Bills right now. It's crazy. They miss Shaq Thompson. I can't believe I'm saying that the Bills miss Shaq Thompson when they got a healthy Terrell Bernard and a healthy Matt Milano, or at least healthy enough that they're out there playing the full game. And they miss Shaq Thompson. And last thing I noticed on film, too, like the defense. Sean McDermott, Bobby Babbitt. Oh, hell, it's Sean McDermott calling the plays. Nickel, dime, the whole game. Like the Bills have been running plenty of 4-3 in recent weeks, and it's looked pretty well. Dorian Williams, I thought, has played, minus the Saints game where he was trash, he's been pretty good this season. He played 3 snaps on Sunday. 3. The Bills played 3 4-3 base snaps in the whole game. And guess what? That was in the last 3.5 minutes of the game when the game was over. So they went the entire game playing nickel or dime. Just crazy to me, man. Against a team who, God, it sounds a lot like Atlanta, doesn't it? One pass catcher in Jalen Waddle, one multi-threat running back in Devon A-Chain, and they knew they were getting the ball, and they still could not stop them. But the Bills were inviting Miami to run the football, and Miami, of course, ran it with at least moderate success early, and then, the punctuation point at the end of the game. And I did not understand that decision to be playing nickel or dime pretty much the whole game against a team that really wanted and needed to run the football, and they did. And then my other point, maybe it's Jordan Hancock time now. Look, Jordan Poyer has been a fun story, a redemption a little bit. He surely has helped Cole Bishop. I'm not going to forget about last week or, what he's meant since he's joined the Bills or gone on the field. I'm not going to change my mind. I don't think it's a coincidence that Cole Bishop's play has risen since Jordan Phillips has joined the active roster. And I'm sure Jordan Hancock is learning plenty as well. But here's the bottom line, and this was exposed a little more on Sunday than it was the last couple weeks. The more Jordan Poyer has to be out there to make plays, the worse that I think it is for this defense. He was late on that touchdown pass to Malik Washington. It wasn't his guy. That was more Dane Jackson. But still, Poyer looked really slow, getting caught, trying to get there to make the play. It wasn't even close. Again, I'm not going to say that play was his fault. That was more Dane Jackson, but still, just looked really slow on that play. He absolutely whiffed on that long Devon A-Chan run. Cam Lewis and Jordan Poyer both whiffed on that touchdown. So that's 100% on him. And just slower than you want to see getting to some spots. That's just what it is with Jordan Poyer at this point. A willing, engaging tackler or physical guy, just very limited athletically, which sounds a lot like Taylor Rapp and a lot like DeMar Hamlin. But, Poyer's even older at this point of his career. Hancock struggled against the Chiefs last week. I thought he played bad, and I said that. He didn't really do anything with only got 10 snaps in this game either. But I'm ready to see more with him now. If nothing else, there's his upside. You got upside with him that you don't have with the other guys. He's got speed. And if you could play him more starting now, you'll have a good idea of what you can expect late into the season and come playoffs. So, and if it doesn't work out, then you go back to, you already know what you have in Jordan Poyer. And if Hancock's not working out, then you go back to 21. Quick defensive tidbits too. Cole Bishop, I mentioned him. He continues to play well. Very strong game again. He had an interception. He nearly had a great diving pass breakup. He's been a sure tackler. He is absolutely starting to take that next step, which of course is good news. Not mad at Max Seriously making his first start with Christian Benford out. Not mad at him. He got cooked by Jalen Waddle. It's okay. It happens. Didn't seem to affect his confidence at all. And he did get a pick later on. He's fine. He's going to be a good player. And then Cam Lewis. He had a few whiffs at nickel. Like I said, that touchdown that I mentioned. But all in all, I liked his game for a second straight week with Tehran out. I thought he did a good job. I think it was a bad decision by the defensive coordinator, whoever that may be, who's calling the plays to not run any 4-3. So he was out there pretty much the whole game, but I thought he played pretty well. I mentioned Fidarius Mathis too earlier. I just don't get it, man. I don't know what he's bringing to the active roster. I don't know why he is on the active roster. Daquan Jones at edge, Dane Jackson at corner during a game is not something I'm interested in ever seeing this season or ever again, for that matter, with the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to wrap this up here. I'm going to say this. If this team meets the fate it appears that it's headed towards, at least based on this game and plenty of what we've seen earlier this season too, you wonder if the primary reason why that happens above all else is what we'll call an overabundance in confidence and ego. The offense was great last year, but it did nothing to really evolve. Cooper, Hollins gone. And by the way, Matt Collins was a better player for this team than people want to give credit for, who also had 6 catches for 106 yards in the New England victory this week over Tampa. But anyway, those guys are gone. Palmer and Moore are in. On paper, it felt like Palmer and Moore would be better, exciting names, but, Elijah Moore's been a little bit of an underachiever. Now, it's not all his fault. Again, we're going to go back to OC here, but, while Palmer was a complimentary wide receiver with the Chargers, and even when he's been healthy, which hasn't been often for the Bills, he hasn't really been much more than that here. He hasn't been a wide receiver one for this team by any means. So it kind of feels like a wash. They did zero, and I mean zero, to help the offense via the draft until you get to the 5th round where you take Jackson Hawes. Now, don't get me wrong, Hawes looks like the real deal. That's great. That's great. Maybe he takes Dawson Knox's TE2 spot next year. Fantastic. But you didn't even take an offensive skill guy or someone who could help you until round 5. So there's that. And then maybe more importantly than anything else, more than personnel, there's just no evolution at all with this offense. It's the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it philosophy with Joe Brady, for sure. The issue, though, is other teams watch film and they learn and they catch up and they adjust. And I feel like we're at a point now, and it's crazy to say, but defenses are daring the Bills to throw the ball and beat them through the air because they know that if you could stop the Bills on first down, the Bills, when they run the football, that offense, look out. And when they run the football well, they could throw out of those jumbo packages. They can mix it up. They can do so much when they're successful on first down. But when this Bills offense gets stopped on first and it's 2nd and 9 or it's 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8, something like that, and you know that they got to throw the football, this passing game is in shambles. This passing game borderline sucks, despite having the MVP quarterback of the National Football League. When you have to throw the football and defenses know it, this offense borderline sucks because they don't have blitz beaters. They don't have guys who are separated. They don't have guys who are getting open consistently. And they have a coordinator who's just straight up not keeping defensive coordinators on their toes. It's as simple as that. So that's the problem with the offense. Almost arrogance to just run it back and not evolve whatsoever and expect to be able to have the same historical results that you did a year ago. And on the other side of the ball, they invested a lot. Joey Bosa, big money. Extensions, core extension guys, big money. And they invested heavily in the draft. Big time. But we're in week 10, folks. And you're already relying on guys like Jordan Poyer and Jordan Phillips and Trey White to get out there and start or be significant contributors in his defense. And Daquan Jones to kind of rewind the clock and having Dane Jackson around. And the shit just ain't working. Now, obviously, injuries are such a huge part of all this as well. Not going to get into those now because we're at the end of the show, but you get what I'm saying. These are guys, it's like 6 months, 8 months, whatever it is, the offseason to build a roster. You can't come up with better late round draft picks, other undrafted free agent signings, a trade, whatever it may be. You can't come up with better solutions than Jordan Poyer or Jordan Phillips or Dane Jackson on your roster playing in meaningful football games in November. It just is not right, man. It's not right. And we'll see how things play out. If you go beat Tampa in Orchard Park this Sunday And then you go out the following week on a short week and you go Thursday Night Football, you beat Houston. It's going to feel like Super Bowl all over again. Bills are right back, main Super Bowl contenders. But right now, while this team probably still makes the playoffs, this does not feel like a Super Bowl roster. This does not feel like a Super Bowl coaching staff. This does not feel like a Super Bowl front office. This does not feel like a Super Bowl anything at all. And Brandon Beane, last thing, didn't help last week. And I said it on the live reaction show in real time, emotionally. Now I'm saying it after having plenty of time to think about it with this game. I don't want to hear how much he tried. I don't want to hear that he's frustrated like all fans. I don't want to hear that he would have bet that the Bills made a trade. I don't want to hear that he went home angry just like every Bills fan after 4 p.m. on Tuesday and no trades were made. It doesn't matter. This isn't participation time. This isn't Little League football. I was going to say Little Loop, but apparently I got bitch egg yesterday because it's Little League and not Little Loop with football. You're wrong, everybody who thinks that. But I'll give you that. It's Little Loop, whatever. It doesn't matter that you're a GM of a professional team. Who cares if you tried? You either succeed or you fail. That's it. The end. Brandon Beane failed. He did not get a trade done. And reports, Tom Pelissero said there was a first and a third from Miami, but Miami wanted the 2026 first. Brandon Beane wanted the 2027 first. I don't know for sure, but if that trade didn't get done and you could have had Jalen Waddle, but you insisted on it being a 2027 first instead of a third because you wouldn't have a first or a third rounder in this coming draft, well then shame on Brandon Beane. That tells me you are not all in and completely committed to doing what you could do to win a Super Bowl this year. Period. You would have lose a first and a third in 2026, and he was not willing to do that for Jalen Waddle. If that's true, shame on Brandon Beane. Shame on him. Awful. All right, folks. That's going to do it for this episode. I will be back tomorrow. Positional analysis, grades, report card, and we'll start to look ahead to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Matt Warren from SB Nation joins me for our weekly chat tomorrow.